My parents smiled while my nephew shoved my daughter, then told me to apologize, so I let the bill come due. Hi, I'm Mark, I'm 38, and last Sunday my family finally pushed me past the point where being the responsible one stopped feeling noble and started feeling stupid. It began with a sentence so casual it almost sounded rehearsed. Just apologize to my son, and we can move on. That was my younger brother talking. Calm. Relaxed. Like he hadn't just watched his 14-year-old shove my kid in the chest and spit at her in our parents' dining room. And while he said it, my parents sat there smiling. Actually smiling. Like this was some adorable family sitcom misunderstanding instead of a grown man demanding I humiliate my own child to keep the peace. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just stood up, took my daughter's hand, and mentally started shutting off every financial switch I'd been quietly holding open for years. Because here's the truth they all forgot. For nearly 7 years, I wasn't just their son or brother. I was their emergency fund. The kind you tap without asking. The kind you drain without thanks. The kind you pretend doesn't exist once the crisis is over. I work as a risk analyst for a regional finance firm. Not flashy. No brag-worthy job title. But steady. Predictable. The kind of career that doesn't impress people at dinner parties but quietly keeps everything afloat. My wife Elena knows exactly how much pressure that kind of stability carries. Our daughter Lily, 8 years old, doesn't. She just knows she likes drawing animals, hates loud rooms, and trusts me to keep her safe. We live in a small townhouse about 20 minutes from my parents' place. My brother Ryan, on the other hand, lives like life is a highlight reel. He's 34, charming, loud, always late, always laughing. The kind of guy who turns every setback into a temporary situation, and every success into proof he's a genius. He drives a black BMW X3 that everyone compliments. I pay the lease. He finished a master's program that changed his life. I covered 60% of the tuition. His son Caleb wears shoes that cost more than my monthly grocery bill. Guess where that money came from? But nobody ever talks about that. At family dinners, Ryan is the success story, the risk taker, the visionary. I'm just reliable Mark, the guy who helps move couches, the guy who fixes Wi-Fi, the guy who doesn't mind. And for a long time, I didn't. Until that night. Until my daughter stood frozen at the table, clutching her sketchbook while my brother laughed and my parents pretended not to see. That was the moment something cracked. Not loudly. Quietly. Irreversibly. And they had no idea how expensive that smile was about to become. Monday morning, I sat at my kitchen table with a mug of coffee I didn't even taste and a notepad I hadn't used in years. Elena was across from me, still in her robe, hair messy, eyes sharp in that way that said she'd already replayed Sunday in her head 100 times and reached the same conclusion I had. Lily was at school, safe. Laughing again. Drawing in the margins of her math worksheet like nothing happened. Which somehow made it worse. Because kids bounce back. Adults are the ones who are supposed to remember what matters. Elena slid her phone toward me. On the screen was a text from my mom. Sweetheart, don't drag this out. Caleb is sensitive, and you embarrassed him. Ryan is upset. We'll all feel better if you just apologize and come back next Sunday. No mention of Lily getting shoved. No mention of the spit. No mention of that ugly little sentence Caleb threw out after Ryan laughed. You're broke, so you don't matter. Elena didn't need to say anything. Her expression did it for her. The same look she gave when a restaurant tried to charge us twice and the waiter acted like we were being dramatic. I exhaled through my nose. Okay, I said. Elena blinked once. Okay, what? I'm going to do exactly what they asked, I said. I'm going to move on. She waited, because she knows me. She knows when I say something calm, it usually means a storm already happened inside my skull and now I'm just cleaning up the wreckage. I opened my laptop. I didn't start with emotions. I started with facts. 7 years of quiet support leaves tracks. Receipts. Confirmations. Auto-pay schedules that run like clockwork whether your brother is grateful or not. And the more I dug, the uglier it looked. Ryan didn't just need help once. He'd been living inside a system I built for him, like a parasite that learned how to wear a tuxedo. I pulled up my banking history and searched his name. Transfers. Every month. $1,650 to a private program account when he was between jobs. $720 to the lease company for the BMW. $280 here, $340 there, labeled utilities, or insurance, or school activity. The funny part? It wasn't even funny. It was the kind of funny where you laugh because if you don't, you'll start punching drywall. He always had a reason. The elevator in his building, randomly, broke so he had to use rideshares for a week. The kid needed a better laptop. His card got compromised. His work reimbursement was delayed. His boss was about to promote him. So he just needed to look professional. Professional. Like a BMW lease was a work uniform. I kept scrolling and my stomach did that slow, sinking thing, like my body recognized the scam before my brain wanted to admit it. Elena leaned in. How much? She asked quietly. I did the math twice because I didn't trust my own eyes. Over 7 years, between tuition help, car payments, bills, emergencies, and the little random asks that were always framed like no big deal. It was $193,400. Not counting the times I paid for dinners. Not counting gifts, from Ryan, that I later realized I'd funded. Not counting the vacation he earned, that my parents bragged about at church. Just clean, documented cash. Nearly $200,000. Elena's mouth tightened. That's Lily's college fund and then some. I nodded. And that's when it hit me, the real reason they got so comfortable disrespecting us. It wasn't just favoritism. It was economics. When you quietly pay for someone long enough, they stop seeing you as a person. You become a utility. And utilities don't get thanked. They get demanded. I opened my autopay list. It was like staring at a control panel for Ryan's life. BMW lease payment. Education installment plan. 2 recurring loan transfers. An insurance policy with his car listed under my account. Even a stupid streaming service I didn't recognize. Probably so Caleb could watch cartoons in HD while telling my daughter she didn't matter. Elena reached across the table and put her hand over mine. Are you sure? She asked. It wasn't doubt. It was permission. The kind spouses give when they know you've been carrying something too heavy and you finally decided to put it down. I clicked into the first payment. BMW lease. My cursor hovered over cancel. And in my head I heard my brother's voice, smug and relaxed. Just apologize to my son, and we can move on. I smiled a little. Not because I was happy. Because we were about to move on. Just not in the way he thought. By noon, I'd already crossed a line there was no uncrossing. The first call was the lease company. I didn't explain my life story. I didn't rant. I didn't complain. I spoke in the same calm, polite tone I use with clients when I'm dismantling a bad investment without drama. Hi, I need to remove myself as co-signer on a vehicle lease. Account ending in 7813. The woman on the line asked routine questions. Verified my identity. Put me on hold for 3 minutes that felt longer than the entire last 7 years. When she came back, her voice was neutral. You'll receive confirmation by email. The primary leaseholder will need to qualify independently or return the vehicle within 30 days. 30 days. Plenty of time, for a man who always claimed he had everything under control. Next was the education account. That one stung more than I expected. I remembered the night Ryan called me years ago, voice shaking, pretending this program was his last shot at making something of himself. I remembered how proud my parents sounded when they told people he was studying advanced strategy. Advanced strategy, apparently, meant letting his older brother bankroll the whole thing and taking credit for the results. I canceled the remaining payments. No argument. No pushback. Just a confirmation email and a polite, "Is there anything else I can help you with today?" Actually? Yes. Freedom. After that, it was like pulling thread from a sweater. Utilities first. Insurance second. The private after-school program Caleb attended because public options didn't align with his potential. Each cancellation felt less dramatic than the last. Not explosive. Just clean. Surgical. By mid-afternoon, I'd shut down 9 recurring payments. 9 quiet lifelines Ryan never acknowledged because, to him, they were permanent features of the universe, like gravity or Wi-Fi. Elena brought me a sandwich I forgot to eat. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. Strangely, yeah. And I was. Not giddy. Not vengeful. Just clear. At 4:17 p.m., my phone rang. Ryan. I let it ring. Again. And again. On the 4th call, I answered. "What the hell did you do?" he demanded, skipping hello like manners were another thing he never needed to pay for. "What do you mean?" I asked, calm enough to irritate him. "My car company called. My tuition portal says payment failed. My internet's out. Did you mess with something?" Something. I leaned back in my chair. "No," I said. "I didn't mess with something. I stopped paying for everything." Silence. Then a laugh. Short. Disbelieving. "Very funny. I'm serious." The laugh died. "You can't just do that," he said. "I have responsibilities." I thought about Lily, sitting quietly at a table while his son humiliated her. Then handle them. His voice sharpened. "This is because of Sunday, isn't it? You're really blowing up my life over a kid joke?" I didn't raise my voice. "Your son shoved my daughter. Spit at her. Called her broke. And you told me to apologize. So that was the moment I realized something. I said, 'You don't respect me. You never have.' That's insane." "Is it?" I asked. "Because I've been paying part of your rent, your car, your education, and your kid's school for 7 years. And the first time I asked you to correct your son, you tell me I'm overreacting. You were embarrassing him. And you've been embarrassing me for years," I said. Just quietly. His breathing changed. Faster now. "You're going to ruin me," he snapped. "My credit. My job. Everything." I smiled, even though he couldn't see it. "No, Ryan. I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped protecting you from the consequences of your own life. You owe me," he said suddenly, desperate now. "You always said you'd help." I paused. Then said the sentence that ended everything. "I helped you. You used me. And now I'm done." He started yelling. I hung up. The phone buzzed immediately. I turned it face down. Elena watched me from the doorway, her expression unreadable. "That was it?" she asked. I nodded. She exhaled slowly. "Good." That night, my parents finally called. Not to ask what happened to Lily. Not to ask if she was okay. They wanted to know why Ryan's life was falling apart. And that's when I realized something important. Sunday wasn't the beginning of the fallout. It was just the moment the bill came due. My mom cried on the phone. Not loud, dramatic sobs. Just that tight, wounded tone she uses when she wants me to feel like the villain without ever saying the word out loud. "Mark, honey. Ryan is falling apart. His power got shut off. His car company is calling nonstop. Caleb's school says tuition is overdue. Why would you do this to your own brother?" I stared out the window at the parking lot, watching Lily draw hopscotch squares with chalk like the world hadn't just shifted under our feet. I didn't do anything to him, I said. I stopped doing things for him. That's the same thing, she replied instantly. Of course it was. To her. My dad got on the line next. His voice was calm, reasonable, carefully neutral, the tone he uses when he wants to sound fair while still siding with whoever's causing the problem. Son, you made your point. You don't need to scorch the earth. I almost laughed. Scorch the earth. Like 7 years of silent payments were nothing more than pocket change. Like I'd snapped in a rage instead of finally letting go after being ignored for nearly a decade. You watched my daughter get humiliated, I said. You smiled through it. That was kids being kids, my dad replied. You're reading too much into it. No, I said quietly. I finally read it correctly. There was a pause. Then my mom said the line I'd been waiting for, the one that proved everything. You've always been strong. You don't need help the way Ryan does. And there it was. Not denial. Not confusion. Just entitlement dressed up as logic. Because I could handle it, I should. Because I was stable, I was expendable. Because I didn't complain, I didn't matter. I ended the call politely. No shouting. No accusations. Afterward, I did something I should have done years ago. I documented everything. Every transfer. Every payment confirmation. Every email. Every text that said, I'll pay you back next month. I built a spreadsheet that made my chest feel tight when I looked at it. Dates. Amounts. Reasons. The total stared back at me in bold at the bottom. $193,400. Elena came in and sat beside me, reading over my shoulder. They're going to try to rewrite this, she said. I know, I replied. That's why I'm saving everything. I wasn't planning to sue. I wasn't even planning to show anyone. But I wanted something for once. Proof. That I hadn't imagined the imbalance. That I hadn't been petty. That I hadn't overreacted. By Thursday morning, the fallout spread. Ryan posted something vague online about betrayal and fake family, and learning who really has your back. People flooded the comments with sympathy. I didn't respond. I didn't need strangers defending me. I needed peace. Ryan tried calling again. Then texting. Then calling Elena. Then showing up at our place unannounced. I watched him through the peephole. He looked smaller somehow. Less confident. Like the world finally weighed what it cost. I didn't open the door. Lily asked, Was that Uncle Ryan? Yes, I said. Is he mad at us? I knelt down and met her eyes. No, I said gently. He's mad he doesn't get to be mean and comfortable at the same time anymore. She nodded like that made perfect sense, then went back to coloring. And that's when I knew, whatever happened next, I'd already made the right choice. Because protecting my daughter cost me nothing. It was everything else that had been too expensive. The real collapse didn't happen loudly. It happened in fragments. I found out later, through frantic voicemails, half-panicked texts, and one accidental confession from my mom, that Ryan's week had turned into a slow-motion disaster. Tuesday morning, his internet cut out in the middle of a video call with his boss. He assumed it was a glitch. Restarted the modem. Swore at the router. Called support. They told him the account was closed due to non-payment. He said that was impossible. He had autopay. They explained, politely, that the autopay card had been removed. The billing email on file? Mine. By lunchtime, his electricity went out. Same story. Same confusion. Same realization creeping in that the safety net underneath him was gone, and had been holding more weight than he ever realized. At 2:30 p.m., Caleb's school called. Tuition overdue. Balance due immediately, $9,800. If payment wasn't received by Friday, enrollment would be suspended. Ryan didn't have it. He never needed it. That was the problem. The car company left a voicemail that afternoon. Without a qualifying co-signer, the BMW needed to be returned within 7 days or repossession proceedings would begin. 7 days. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I just watched the consequences line up like dominoes I had been holding upright for years. Ryan called me 17 times that day. I didn't answer. Then my parents started again. My mom cried. My dad reasoned. They alternated between guilt and authority like a well-practiced routine. You're tearing the family apart. No, I said. I just stopped holding it together by myself. That evening, Elena and I took Lily for ice cream. She got chocolate with sprinkles. Sat on the bench swinging her legs, humming to herself like nothing in the world was wrong. I realized something important then. The chaos wasn't in my house. It was everywhere else. Ryan finally sent a message instead of calling. I get it. I messed up. Let's talk like adults. I didn't reply. Because adults don't wait until the money stops to discover respect. Thursday morning, Ryan showed up again. This time he knocked softer. Slower. I watched through the peephole as he leaned his forehead against the doorframe, like a man who finally noticed how heavy his life was without someone else carrying it. I still didn't open the door. That afternoon, my mom called one last time. Her voice was tired now. Not accusing. Not pleading. Just worn down. Your brother's car is going to be taken, she said quietly. I know. He might lose his apartment. I know. And you're really okay with that? I thought about Lily's face at that dinner table. About how quickly everyone dismissed her pain because it was inconvenient. Yes, I said. Because I'm not okay with teaching my daughter that she deserves less so other people can be comfortable. She didn't argue. She just hung up. That night, Elena and I sat on the couch in silence. Do you feel guilty? She asked. I checked myself honestly. No knots in my stomach. No second guessing. Just relief. No, I said. I feel lighter. And for the first time in years, I slept through the night. By the following Monday, the story had officially flipped. Ryan wasn't the golden boy anymore. He was the problem everyone whispered about. The BMW was gone by Tuesday afternoon. My mom called to tell me, like it was a death in the family. They took it right out of the parking lot, she said. Caleb was watching from the window. I imagined it. Tow truck, clipboard, no drama. Just reality doing its job. I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No regret. Just distance. Later that day, Ryan sent me a message that was longer than anything he'd ever written before. Not an apology. A negotiation. He talked about stress. About pressure. About how unfair the timing was. About how I could help just a little, until he got back on his feet. He didn't mention Lily. He didn't mention Sunday. He didn't mention the spit. That's when it finally clicked. He didn't miss me. He missed the system. I didn't respond. By Thursday, Caleb was pulled from his private school. Ryan enrolled him in a public one nearby. Perfectly fine. Safe. Normal. The Instagram post stopped. No more motivational captions. No more photos of success. No more comments calling him inspiring. My parents stopped calling too. Not dramatically. Not angrily. They just stopped. No Sunday dinner invites. No casual check-ins. No pretending everything was normal. And that hurt, more than I expected. Because even when you're right, being cut off still stings. Elena noticed it before I admitted it. They don't know how to interact with you without the money involved, she said gently. I nodded. They'll either adjust, she continued, or they won't. That weekend we took Lily to the beach. She collected shells like always, lining them up by size and color, explaining her system like it was critical scientific research. Can we come back next weekend? She asked. Absolutely, I said. Ryan texted me one last time that night. I hope you're happy. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then typed back. I didn't ruin your life. I just stopped building it for you. I blocked his number. And the quiet that followed wasn't empty. It was peaceful. 3 weeks passed. Not dramatically. Not explosively. Just quietly. The kind of quiet you only notice after years of noise. Ryan moved into a smaller apartment closer to his job. No gym. No balcony. No covered parking. Just walls, a door, and bills with his name on them. My parents didn't say much about it. When they did, it was always framed like a tragedy that had simply happened to him, never something he'd contributed to. I wasn't invited to family dinners anymore. Not officially. They just stopped asking. At first, I waited for the guilt to arrive. For the doubt. For the late-night spiral where I'd convince myself I'd gone too far. It never came. Instead, something else did. Space. Evenings felt longer. Mornings calmer. My bank app stopped being a source of tension. Elena and I started talking about things we hadn't allowed ourselves to plan before. A real vacation. A bigger place. Lily's future, not as an abstract hope, but a funded reality. One night, Lily asked a question that caught me off guard. Dad, why don't we see Grandma and Grandpa anymore? I knelt beside her bed and chose my words carefully. Sometimes adults make mistakes, I said. And sometimes they don't know how to fix them right away. Is it my fault? She asked. My chest tightened. No, I said firmly. Never. You did nothing wrong. She nodded, satisfied, then asked if dragons would be realistic pets. Kids move forward fast when they feel safe. Adults? Not so much. I got one email from my dad. Short. Careful. Hope you're doing well. Let us know if you're open to talking. I didn't reply. Not yet. Because talking without accountability is just noise. And I was finally done being background sound in someone else's life. Ryan never apologized. Not for his son. Not for the years. Not for the entitlement. And that told me everything. The peace I felt wasn't accidental. It was earned. Time kept moving, and with it, everything settled into a quiet I didn't know I was missing. Not the awkward silence of avoidance. Not the heavy silence of resentment. A clean silence. The money stopped disappearing. The tension stopped living in my chest. Our home felt lighter, like it could finally breathe. My parents never apologized. Ryan never admitted what he'd done. And at some point, I realized I didn't need them to. Because closure doesn't come from someone else finally understanding you. It comes from deciding you're done explaining yourself. One evening, Lily sat next to me on the couch, drawing quietly. She looked up and asked, almost casually, Dad, am I allowed to stand up for myself? The question hit me harder than any argument ever had. Yes, I said without hesitation. Always. She nodded, satisfied, and went back to her drawing. And in that moment, everything felt right. I didn't lose a brother. I didn't lose parents. I lost a role. The role of the fixer. The wallet. The invisible safety net. And what I gained was something far more valuable. Peace.